Hey, we're live. Equal Time is back. I'm Mark Privratsky with another Minnesota Aurora pregame. I'm here with my co-host Danny Foxhoven Young. How you doing, Danny?
Hello, everybody.
Hey. So,
Yeah.
second game of the weekend, coming off
Yep.
yet another win, obviously, and we're seeing a lot of rotation too, which is exciting. But talk about team still undefeated, Danny. I feel like it's probably harder and harder to focus one game at a time and not think about playoffs. We certainly are, but
Yeah.
yeah, coming off another 3-goal game.
Well, you know what? I think at this point, it's probably okay for them to start thinking about playoffs. Obviously, you can see in the lineup they made a lot of changes. So I think Nicole is also starting to think about that and starting to give players who she knows are going to get minutes later on a little bit of a rest. Today, there's like no need really to be pushing anything. Try some new things today, get some other players some minutes, let them get the flow of it as well. And more so, I think kind of take a second. Today is the day to take a second, to just take a beat, relax.
Mhm.
Obviously, still got to get a win. They still
Mhm.
want to perform, especially the players who are coming on and today's their first start. They want to
Yeah,
show well, so there's some motivation intrinsically for them. But I think as a team as a whole, they can. Today's the day to take your foot off the pedal a little bit.
yeah. Well, so the changes. We'll get right into it. A couple of people getting their first start, so we're really excited for them. So Taylor Kane, who's subbed in a couple times for Sarah Fuller, she gets the start at keeper. So awesome for Taylor. She's just coming off, I think, just her freshman college season. So excited for her. And then Lydia Rupert, who's a really experienced player. I call her Sandlot because played for the U of M club team after playing for the Gophers, and so pumped for her too because that's a cool story of someone staying in the game, probably with a little more work-life balance being on the U of M club team, but then she's still clearly that's a high shout out to the club team at the Gophers because Lydia's still in form to get a start.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell when there's a keeper that's being subbed in. I think it's really, really important to know that that is something that does not happen often by
Yeah.
any means. So I think today is a really great time for her to get some experience without the high pressure. She's obviously been training with Sarah Fuller this whole season, as have all the other keepers.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly she is, they want to get her some minutes so that should something happen, she feels comfortable. She knows the back line. She knows how to communicate with everybody. The team knows what they can expect from her as well
Mm-hmm.
without it being a high pressure situation. So I think that alone speaks to where they are comfortably today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exciting for Taylor because her first appearance was in St. Louis when Aurora was pretty comfortable, I know Nicole clearly wanted to get her some minutes, so she subbed in, and it was really unfortunate. That's when they had the upper 90 free kick that was just virtually unstoppable, and so she aside from that, she came in and immediately had to make 3 or 4 saves, which is really rare for Aurora defense. Sarah usually only has to make a couple, so I was really impressed. I mean, and a reminder to people just the different ways these players come to the team. It's really exciting for me. Like I was at the first open tryout in January when the team still felt theoretical, and I met Taylor's dad because there's just one parent there, and I was like, well, hey, who are you? And they had flown in from California to try out for this team,
That's
which is
awesome.
which is wild. So that's
Yeah,
how
that's
she
cool.
plays. She plays at a D3 school in California. So it's like you see how we have players, it's like Morgan Turner played 4 years at DePaul, at a major school. And then we have Taylor Kane getting the start coming from D3 in California.
Yeah.
Like, how cool is that?
I mean, it's amazing, but that speaks to how important the exposure is. Like her making the trip
Right,
out here, wanting to
right.
know that this is going to be a place that we're going to have a lot of attention. We're going to have a lot of media. She's going to be able to train with the best, which training is, I would say, arguably even more important because she wants to be pushed every day, and she has the opportunity to step in, just like how when we talked to Haley Kottmeyer, who is training
Mm-hmm.
under Ashlyn and Hope.
Right.
That was super important to her development, was just being pushed every day. So
Yeah.
I think that speaks a lot to her. No, there's no difference though. I mean, obviously your D1 schools, your UCLA's, your North Carolinas, they're obviously known for having the best talent every year, but that's not to say that D3 schools or NAIA schools or D2 schools are any different in being able to pull in just some really amazing
Right.
talent and have really amazing coaches. It's just, I don't
Right.
think elevated on that level.
Yeah, it's absolutely a good point because you're like, well, all of a sudden you get the chance and you can find talent anywhere. And so, I mean, look at the players who stand out for us. Sangmin Cha, I think, is playing at an NAIA school
Yep.
or a D2. It's like, Mariah Wynn just transferred to St. Thomas to play D1 in the Summit League, but she was playing Division II at Bemidji State last year. By the way, is an outside back and is now like a really impactful winger for us. So yeah, it does speak to just the value of getting people exposure, because then you never know what you might find. And Minnesota, it runs deep too. I mean, yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. So speaking of small schools, so St. Louis they just have 2 goal scorers this year, which sounds kind of funny. They've scored 6 goals, and there's 3 goals from a piece from Chloe Netzel, who plays at Xavier, and then Crystal Kohensky. I need to shout her out because she plays at a D3 school called Fonbon University, and I need to shout out Fonbon because they're in the St. Louis Athletic Conference now, but before that they were NAIA and they played in the Show Me Conference. Dani.
Yep.
So I don't know if there was performance involved with the games, but I love that.
Well, I will say I used to coach at Purdue Northwest University, and we made the move from NAIA to Division II to the GLIAC, and it's a tough move. I mean, there is definitely there's different, so many different rules with NAIA and NCAA, obviously, but that's huge for those girls, and I think it speaks a lot to just the talent that we have in the league here. From all over. You have girls coming from NAIA, D1, D2, D3, and they're all playing on the same field, which, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, and then we have another couple players who have a chance to get their first minutes as well. So Sarah Fuller's not in the 18 today. Olivia Groutman, who's from St. Thomas, she's another keeper. You might say, I guess, she's the third keeper based on how they're rostering. So she's on the bench as well, which maybe she has a chance to get her first minutes, which would be exciting. And then also on the bench again, someone who's played just once is Mayu Inakwa, and Mayu is playing a center back. So you might think with a game like this, and that she's in the lineup, it's hard to not notice. Maybe Nicole's hoping to be in a position to get her some minutes. Because like we said, our defense has been really good, but you want her to have a little more rhythm at center back probably for the late stretch.
That's exactly right. I think as we keep saying, it's very rare that you see subs in the back, just because that's such a tight-knit group that you want them constantly being able to work together and get the flow with each other. But I think today is a day that they can experiment and see and try some new things and just change it up a little bit.
Yeah, when that people are these forwards who have a chance to, like Abby Brantner's on the bench, Christelle Yawa is on the bench. They're going to be hungry for goal because they know that one, we almost always get 3 at home, and then 2, I mean, St. Louis is the weakest squad in the division. So I can only imagine Morgan Turner's just smelling blood right now.
Today is a day where you want to start racking up some goals. Today is a day when you can, as a forward, I used to think about here's where I can make the difference in getting golden boot for the season, or really racking up some goals. So the games when you're going to be a little bit tougher and maybe 1 goal is going to be the difference. Today's a day where you're like, let's try some things. Let's get creative. Maybe I take some chances from outside, or I do something a little bit different. But yeah, I'm trying to get forward with everything. Just, take some players on, get creative. Today would be a fun day for me.
I wonder, I'm so curious after last game. So when Mariah Wynn scored, they did the first organized celebration where she rolled and they picked her up and took the fish pic. I think it was Rachel Preston took the picture of a big trophy fish catch, which I don't even know if you would have caught that's a very Minnesotan celebration. But when I asked Nicole, I was surprised, and these are all in the interviews after the game, but I asked Nicole, I was like, someone asked about the celebration, because I was wondering if she liked it or if she didn't, and she said, yeah, they've been practicing celebration, so it was cool to see them do it. And I was just like, I love that, because it is players, they're clearly working hard. So I mean, I just love that these coaches that they're like, yeah, go have fun, and by the way, there's 6,000 people here, it's go entertain them too.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's the fun of it, right? Is you do all the hard work to score, you do all the hard work to win, to keep these games on track, for sure, but you got to have a little bit of fun with it, and so I love that she's encouraging that. I think that that should always be done. I mean, you look at any big, high level things, and the iconic moments we all see are post goals, so
yeah,
why not start it here?
Right. I mean, like, think of the U.S. women in that last World Cup win, like the Alex Morgan tee against the English was just like she's so
Exactly.
good. Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
of course, yeah. And I mean, we all know this, so that's
Yes,
we know that
that's
now.
that's exactly right.
So I want to highlight too. So the USLW does a really good job as a league actually, and we repost their stuff, but it makes it easy to cover because they do things that you expect to see with the league, and so I want to just kind of highlight that, like they do a pick'em each week, and so one of the co-hosts for Summer League shows with me, Liz Shendell, who she does women's soccer for Protagonists, and that which is the source for lower league soccer. And so they have a couple people who do pick 'em. And Aurora weren't in the early weeks, but it's like they're in this week. They were in, and it's like, well, of course they all picked Aurora to win. But I want to say that both Liz and Kaylor, as we're looking at this race for the playoffs, Racing Louisville is playing. They're playing Ann Arbor, and they're playing another game this weekend. And two of them took the long shot to say, Racing Louisville would lose because they're one of the teams that could potentially be facing us. So I just wanted to say, I mean, we're still chasing Indy 11. Indy 11 is undefeated as well. And so you'd think for us to host, we need to finish with a better points record than them, which is, I mean, I think everyone here is really counting on getting to maybe host a game.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, I think that would be amazing for the league. It would be amazing for just viewership, really, just
Right.
attention on what these girls are doing. And I think the future of women's soccer, how far we've come, and the exposure for the girls nonetheless. And the city, really, I think the community around the club, like we've done a lot. So, I think that would be really huge. Obviously, if that doesn't happen, they still have to do the same thing. It's just a different field and a different place. But I think playing at home would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, it would be wild. And I should say, so I mean, Indy 11 too is they have a men's team in the USL Championship who've always had good fans. I think that, and so they had that opener, and it was weird. It was in an indoor field because of weather, I think. And so they actually I don't know what their attendance has been like outdoors, but in that little indoor stadium, I think they maybe had 1,000 people there or something. So they're clearly a team that is public facing and actually doing, the whole work of being a club. So either way, it'll be fun. And I would guess there would even be some traveling fans from Indy if we hosted them. So good to see. And the top two teams, by the way, there's also power rankings in the W League. So highlight the top team, McLean Soccer, they're undefeated. They play, I think they're in the Southeast, and then Greenville Liberty is also there above us. But Aurora, hard to ignore when you win 6 straight. So they're third in the power ranking.
Love that.
Yeah, that was. But so the other thing I wanted to say is, so we're still 5 points up on Green Bay. Green Bay is playing this weekend as well, and so we are getting close to where we just have one more game at Dutch Lions, and after this, and then the 2 in Green Bay, which I think there's going to be a big contingent. We hear a lot about owners, and even a lot of the founders, I think, are planning to go to Green Bay. So it'll be funny to see how we travel for that.
Yeah, I think it'll be really cool. I mean, that's obviously not too far of an away game, and the top 2 teams always are going to be, there's going to be some inherent, like, let's see how we fare when we're there. We better go watch, especially because, as we've talked about, I know Green Bay has a stream and it's coverage, but you don't get the same experience. So I think it'll be fun. I hope we have some people that go.
Yeah, it's a cool, it's a nice field. It's unique. It's in minor league baseball field. So I've watched some of their streams, and the thing that is really unique, I've just never seen a video board like this at baseball or soccer, but along the entire end line, which would be a sideline, which would be the outfield for a baseball, there's a video screen that runs basically like 60 yards long, and it's like 10 feet high. And so when you're watching the stream, it kind of overwhelms you, like the scale of that next to the field. And so I honestly just don't know what that's like as a player.
Yeah, that's like the length of the field.
It would be in your peripheral, like if like Eli Rapp is playing right back, it's like it would be in your peripheral like the entire time. And so it's just it's weird. It looks unique on the broadcast, but it's a nice little stadium, and I think they do a good job. They do a good job with their public facing stuff too, and I'm sure there'd be a good crowd.
Yeah. But either way, it'll be a lot of fun. I think it'll be a good time for the girls to kind of get everything tightened up before hopefully going into playoffs. And today, as we said, is like a day of freedom, for them to try new things, get creative, try, maybe throw some things out there. I bet Nicole has some things up her sleeve that she's like, today's a good day to try that. But then after this, it'll be back to back to seriousness.
Yeah. Well, and I think we still haven't seen, we rarely see shots from outside the box. We talked about this last week a little bit, but we rarely even see shots attempted from outside the box. And we haven't got goals that way. So I know it's something they're working on. And to be honest, it's just a matter of fact, like in the women's game, like you'll end up with keepers that are more vulnerable to those things. Like you have to take advantage. Like Sarah Fuller can't be caught from being,
sure.
She's tall, she's 6'2", and Taylor Kane has a decent frame too. But like if say someone like Bayless Flynn was starting, she's like 5'6", or I don't know, she's quite short. So it's like you have to take your chances that way too.
Well, I do think that that is real timing. You have to have a really specific player who feels comfortable enough to be able to strike from far away, even because it's very different than like a long ball. A shot from outside is very different than just than any other type of shot or even like pass over the top. So I would say probably Nicole has had that discussion with players, like let's get the ball a little bit closer unless you absolutely see a moment, because we do have such attackers who like going forward, who we're able to throw numbers in the box. We have players who are good in the box. Like that's going to be a better chance than just trying to strike it from outside. Yeah,
true. Well, and it's true. I mean, they don't get to the point where they need to just take whatever long shot because typically if our offense gets going, right, I mean, the combinations work and we find better shots than that too. So
yeah. It's a good... And to be honest, sometimes taking a shot from outside, unless you really see the opportunity, is actually just giving the ball back to the other team. Whether you missed and then they have a goal kick, or the keeper has it. Now we're all on defense again when we actually have the opportunity to keep the ball, which is going to be a little bit more in our hands, right? It's better to, especially if you're up, you want to keep the ball. You don't just want to give it back to them. So, so I think that there's probably some tactics there.
Yeah. And we do score a lot. We have scored on second chances too. Like when you're getting the balls in the box and you're getting pressure on the keeper there, we've had where, either a second chance on a corner or a second, but like where we have people pounce, like Kenzie Langdock pounce on one, and I think like Maya Hansen scored one. So yeah, it's a good point of where the players move into the box, how they end up finishing. Yeah. Where have you played on a baseball field, Dani? Like they're going to go play. Like this is, by the way, like it's as nice of a baseball field setup as I've seen for like a lower level. But did you ever in NWSL maybe even?
No, I don't think in NWSL we ever did, now that I'm thinking about it. I know that the Thorns and the Timber Stadium, before it was transferred just to soccer, was at one point a baseball stadium.
Yep.
But no, I don't think I ever did, actually. I think I evaded that.
There's a really good documentary, by the way, shameless, it had nothing to do with us, but called Battered Bastards of Baseball. And it's about that team that played in that stadium in the 70s. Yep. And speaking of Aurora kind of being an independent team, they were the only independent minor league team. And it was Kurt Russell's dad owned it. Kurt Russell played on the team. It's a great documentary.
Okay. All right. Good to know. They're trying to bring MLB back to Portland. So that's a push that's happening. You'd probably enjoy it just by like the way people talk about Portland as a small town, because it was way smaller even then. Like, sure. It keeps growing. But it was fun. It's a good, so shout out to that documentary. But well, awesome, Dani. We're hoping to stay undefeated. I think I'm excited to see what the people do. It's another sellout today. I love it. It's a beautiful day for it. Happy Pride to everybody. I know Pride Parade's happening. The last thing that I wanted to mention is just you did mention how St. Louis only traveled a small amount of players today. Mm-hmm. So I think I think it'll be a good time for Minnesota for Aurora to really. You'll see some creative things happening today, and I'm excited for everybody who's there.
Well, it's just traveling, and we should say, like, we talk about the contrast in like budget, or like at least allocated resources to the team. So like Aurora rides in a really comfortable as can be, like, nice coach bus, and so you have space to like stretch out. We talked about this with Chicago driving in. I don't know when St. Louis arrived, but like they were not riding in, and so it does make a difference to arrive late. It's like you're trying to get warm up, you get the rust out of your legs, and so it makes a difference. So in the second half, when we always see Aurora turn it on and get a lot of chances in the second half, and so we'll see how St. Louis hangs on. We're not overconfident, but we've seen it time and again, so we kind of know what to expect.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we're all looking forward to today, And yeah.
Thanks, Dani. I hope you're well at home. Shout out to the family. Hope you're feeling well.
Thanks. You guys have a good one.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.